And just like that, we're back, guys. I know we didn't do last week's show, and man, I hated to cancel that thing. But hey, brothers got to get some rest every once in a while, if you could call it that. I spent a week in Disney with the family, my son-in-law, my grandbaby. I mean, it was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but it wore me smooth the fuck out. And then I come right back home. Got up at 4 o'clock the next morning after driving home from Orlando and did Fan Expo for 3 days in New Orleans, driving back and forth. So not a lot of rest here, but it was an incredible time. I will say that. I wouldn't take anything, any of that. Just awesome stuff. But speaking of awesome stuff, got a double whammy for you guys. We got two, not one, but two awesome creators on tonight. They've been on the show before. Uh, I'm going to introduce them, but most of you guys should know them by now. One in particular, we're going to have Jade Louder, the fabulous artist from It's a Horror Show, and he's following that up with this upcoming book that'll be releasing here next week, Dead and Still Dying, another LKC title, sure to be another hit. I also have the founder of the feast himself and writer of the book, Mark Bernal. So let me get these guys in here so they can tell all of you guys all about it. And here we are.
What's up, brother?
It's good to have you guys back, man.
Yeah,
If
man,
I
thanks
can
for
get
having us
my,
on.
there we go. There we go.
Good to be back. Yeah.
So what have you? I know what you guys have been up to, but nobody, our viewers don't know what you guys have been up to. So
It's
kind of,
it's been over a year since we did this with you because we did this with
yeah,
you.
it's been a hot minute,
It's a horror
and then
show.
I took a hiatus from the show for a while. I just kind of, you know, fizzled out there like a asshole, but it's great to be back. So yeah,
Yeah. This is both me and Jade's first Kickstarter for our own book. We didn't do our own books in all of, well, I guess I had a couple books in the batch 5 at the very end of 2023, but it was, this is the first like full length. Yeah, for sure. Since like a year and 2 months.
It feels weird to call 2023 kind of a lull, but because it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that at all. But I didn't have to run any. I didn't run a Kickstarter in 2023, and
oh wow.
And then now in 2024,
man, that shows me how much of a blur 2023 was, because I was thinking it was a horror show. It's a horror show released last year, but you're right. That was 2022, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I mean,
man. Where did 2023 go?
There was 15 Kickstarter campaigns with LKC in 2023. You'd think we would have released one on accident, like out of that group of 15. But
yeah,
I guess
for sure.
not.
So let's jump right into it, guys. I mean, how hyped are you for this book? I mean, I actually got to sit down and read it today, and I'm telling you, I think you got a banger on your hands, fellas.
I appreciate it, man. I got right here in my I'll do the shameless shout out to Wham Stand. So I got my little Wham Stand here, but I got so this is the Jade Louder variant. So this is actually not our cover A, but it's the variant that he made exclusively for Baltimore Comic-Con.
Gotcha.
So we released a few of them there, and then everything left over, we got a limited run of those that'll be available for the Kickstarter. And then the other ones I don't have proofs of the other one yet, but we also have a cover by Adrian Kollerick, who did Trakovi. Does some stuff with Scout, but he's got a book coming out with us too, called
The Sitter, isn't it? The Sitter, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But he did the second variant cover for this. So we have, we'll have what? I guess if you include the sketch covers, you know, those
Yeah,
would
it'll be
be
five different
five.
covers.
Oh, wow.
People could get, yeah. So, but yeah, I had met Jade a long time ago, and I'm just glad that we finally have a book to put out together. You know, we worked on this for, yeah, I mean, in some form or fashion for about a year, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, I think we even started talking about it back in 2022 because I started doing layouts and character designs way back then when we were I think it was before we even launched It's a Horror Show. We started doing character designs and stuff like that and kicking ideas back and forth. And so there were
Oh,
lots
wow.
of so there wasn't a script at that moment. It was, we started coming up with this idea back in 2022, and we started like kicking around sketches and story ideas and talking through the beats that we knew wanted to happen and whatnot. And there were some
Right.
really great conversations just about like how the story was going to evolve and what Mark's ideas for it were and the things that he wanted to happen. And then, the pieces that were like, okay, but how is this going to lead into that? And it was fun to work with Mark in that capacity because, we're with other writers who might be like, no, this is the way that it is. And I will hear nothing of it. Mark was great at like, I pitched like an idea that I'm like, oh, this is a crazy idea. This might like derail everything. He's like, oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Sure. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
throw a grenade in there and just see what comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun to be in that like kind of a partnership, and as an artist where I'm not just like clock it in, clock it out mentally of the work. I'm as invested in the story and what's going on and how the world feels and whatnot as Mark is. And I think that like it's that buy-in that I'm like, yeah, I'm stoked. I can't wait to get the book out, to get people into people's hands. And then man, I can't wait just to keep going and for the next one and the next one. This is the start of
Got
something
that
huge,
bug.
and I think that it's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was telling Brandon Blocksdorf from Apollo City. I was chatting with him on the other day, and I was like, do you know how much pressure there is like on writing this number two? I'm in the middle finishing up like writing number two, and I was like, because like I love how number one came out, but like working on number two, I feel like I have to like turn this in to Jade and be like if he's gonna be like, I could have been working on It's a Horror Show, like, like not that Jade would ever say
Why are
that.
you
Like,
stuck
he'd
with
be
this
like,
piece of shit?
yeah, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like it has to compete with It's a Horror Show, or else like,
Right.
why am I wasting my time on this series? So, but yeah, it's good. It's good to have like another writer, because then we get that writer's room feel.
Gotcha.
Of like, oh, okay, yeah, that is a good idea. That makes, that moves the pace of this scene along better, or that's going to be more visually striking. Like some of the things that I never think of as a writer, we talked through of like iconography of like the actual characters. Not only should they look different when you see them, but their silhouettes should be visually different. So that like
Right.
even if we have them in a foreground, you'll know who everybody is, and we talk the hairstyles and the glasses and the this, that, and the other things. And, I think Jade was the first, artist illustrator that I've worked with. I've worked with people who are strictly illustrators before, so I never really had that, experience before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Mark, it's funny that you bring up like those kind of details and stuff like that we talked over, because I remember, and maybe this is just kind of my like OCD tendencies when it comes to like drawing and whatnot, but like I want everything to have a reason. I'm like, I want to know why is he always wearing a hoodie? Why, like just basic shit like that. But I think that it adds a lot, even if it's stuff that's not necessarily like expressed to the reader, but like we, the creators, know that stuff.
Right.
And I think that like the characters feel so flushed out to me that I always forget. I'm like, no, they just kind of like, that's just the character. And I forget like, oh yeah, that's right. We did go through like lots of stages. There was a time where we had this character and there was a whole moment where like he didn't have glasses, and then he had a totally different style of glasses, and then he just looked totally different, you know, in the first kind of iterations to where we landed when I started drawing, like actually drawing pages. And I think it's just funny to look back at it now, because you know, I've had the book kind of completed. We've had it done since Baltimore, so back in September. And so to look at it now and be like, oh yeah, that was that process of getting to these characters and stuff like that. And it was this, yeah, back and forth about everything, like down to, you know, there's characters in it that like are wearing a particular t-shirt, and it's like with a purpose. There's a reason that they're wearing that shirt in that scene, or you know, this color of clothes, because we were thinking about how it's going to pop with this background. And yeah, it was probably the most kind of elaborate design process of just creating it that I've ever, you know, with when you're doing it all yourself, like you're writing, you're drawing it yourself. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I'll just,
you know,
it can be whatever. That's fine.
You know, now that you say that, you know what this is like? This is like when you're on like first dates, right? And it's before you can fart in front of the other person, you know.
You gotta get
like
to know them,
yeah. So you're on like your best behavior. Like I was like, oh,
exactly.
This is how
you don't
I
want to
write all
squeeze one out on the first date, man. I mean, what kind of asshole does that shit?
Yeah, so I'm like, this is how I write all my books. I am always this attention to detail.
Yeah.
Like I turned in a proper script to Jade, and I know other people like Kieran, who's like does Death Wish with me, was probably like, dude, I get just a string of incoherent text messages as a script. Like you get a fucking Word document with like
You mean Jade gets a fucking script? What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, that's too funny. Speaking of like weird first dates, it, you know, so again, Mark and I have known each other now for a couple of years, but we finally first met face to face in Baltimore. That was the first time this past September, and it was so funny. You know, we had been talking about, because we split a table for the con. And we were, you know, making all these arrangements. I was like, yeah, this is when my flight gets in. Mark picks me up and stuff. He's just like, all right, I'm going to take us back to the hotel room. And I was just like, room? And he had neglected to tell me.
All day, buddy. All day.
And it was just like, oh, okay, we're going to get to know each other very well.
Roomies. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I don't come from old money.
Yeah. Ain't like you got a mattress full of $100 bills or anything stacked out. Hell yeah.
I forget it too. I mean, I won't forget it. That he said, yeah, when you come to the room, he's just like, don't be alarmed, but it's full of comics. And I was like, oh, okay. Walking into the room, every conceivable surface that could be like a comic could be set on had a comic on it, and stacks of them, like
wow,
everywhere.
See, I thought you were going to go a different direction like that. Like, hey man, I hand washed my underwear and they're literally on the sink right now.
No, with Mark, it's just like almost hoarder level amounts of comic books everywhere.
Wow. So Jay, tell me something. What did you learn through the process of It's a Horror Show that kind of helped you out and you applied to this book as far as your art and design and all that kind of stuff? Anything in particular?
You know, I think two things come to mind. We're already on the conversation about character design, and that was a big one that I wanted to have. Because with It's a Horror Show, the date, I kind of just started it, and I started on page 1, and I drew it in order, and I just went all the way to the very end of the book on that one.
Right.
And I did, one page, then the next, and then the next. And over that time, and maybe it's only perceptible to me, but I think other people, if you really look, you could tell. Slowly the character shifts. Like I figure out how to draw them. Like I finally solve how to draw that character by like page 10, and it's just like, and then it's streamlined. And so up until page 10, I'm like still almost kind of figuring out how to do the character. And so
Right.
going into Dead and Still Dying, I immediately was like, okay, I'm not doing that way anymore. I want it to look streamlined. I want this to look cohesive from page 1 to
Gotcha.
page 28. I want it to look exact. So we spent, or at least I did, I spent a lot of front time making the characters consistent. And
Right.
so the consistency of the characters and making sure that I knew, like, okay, this character, Chris, every time I draw him, these are the shapes, this is the face, this is the hair, this is every single time, this is what it's got to look
Gotcha.
like. And so I just I had them down, so I knew how to draw them before I started really doing the page layouts and whatnot on the finals. The second piece that I learned was kind of a part of that, where in It's a Horror Show, I started on page 1 and then I just did each one in sequential order. With Dead and Still Dying, because we had that script and it was all the way kind of fleshed out, with spreads and all that kind of stuff, I could just jump around. And so,
Gotcha.
I think the first page I actually drew, inked, and finished was maybe 24 or something like that. And then I just jumped around. So it's impossible to see really where I started, and if there was any slight change in the art style, because I just developed the book all simultaneously, and it wasn't just in order, if that makes sense. So
Right.
that was for me. That was a big one. I was like, okay, I need a smarter way of making the book look, prettier, I guess. And that was the big takeaway from It's a Horror Show.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you ended with, or you started with the last page, because I feel like that was the first thing you turned into me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a weird page to get as the first, because it's just
it's
there's no faces in that it's just a thing. I don't want to give away the ending, but yeah, it's it's the cliffhanger, and yeah, with no context, the cliffhanger makes very little sense.
Yeah.
So y'all already answered one of my questions. Did the story kind of change midstream? Did y'all already have basically where it ended? I'm sure y'all pretty much had that plotted out from the get-go. With the stories that you made on the go, did that change the ending of the book as well?
I'm trying to. I think this was the one that most came out like the script. So
Gotcha.
and I've worked with so many folks, and I do enjoy the Marvel method, but I think
Yeah.
for the reason before, I wasn't working with other storytellers that much, so I've kind of felt like Jade could be critical of lazy stories. I was I wanted to have it locked in. The other part that this forced me to do, oh, what's up, D?
Hey D, how's it going, man?
Got to hang out in Baltimore with D. So either them or us, and Dead and Still Dying all happen in the same universe. Lesser known comics 1 through now 11 all happen in the same universe.
Okay.
So this was the first time I was actually forced to dust off this document I made that was this is the lesser known universe. This is what's happening. This is all the storylines. This is what's sequential. This is, or what happens chronologically, and then all the story arcs that come off of it, and then essentially be we're gonna touch a few of these story arcs,
Right.
So I don't know if it makes it easier because he has a bunch of stuff for reference, or if it makes it harder because it's well, now we gotta stay within, because he's gonna have to draw some things that have been drawn before, but in his style. So
right.
But I felt like I had to tighten up my organizational game, coming in, just being
You had to pull a Kevin Feige on him.
yeah.
It's you can do all this, but you got to stay within this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there were any changes based upon me coming into the script and stuff like that. It was, again, it was kind of before I had even started on the finals, so it wasn't like
Gotcha.
through drawing that those things changed, or like the
Right.
actual process of making it. It was more in those initial conversations where so I think of two. One would be a big spoiler that I don't think I'll say, but one is a bigger thing going on. But the second one was about these 2 pages where the main kids in the story are back at school. And yeah, there's that one. Mark knew exactly what I was talking about. And he had it kind of written that they were, having this conversation in one of the classrooms. I was like, man, wouldn't it be great visual storytelling if like we had them position wise kind of staying in the same area in the panel, but the classroom changed behind them.
I thought that was a really cool touch too.
Yeah, thank you. And that would like, but that happened in conversation, and so we had already planned that out, before I even started drawing it. So Mark would he would run through the script, and I would just be like, okay, stop right there. I have a vision of what this would look like in my mind. Let me tell you what it would look like. And he'd be like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And then include that in the script and go forward.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
one thing I did notice, it's got a very cool flavor to it. I picked up some Stranger Things vibes off of this thing. I know it's probably not going in that direction, I'm sure, but I mean, if the ones that'll be watching later, if you like Stranger Things, this book will be right up your alley. I mean, it's got that vibe. I mean, it's totally different, but it's got that vibe for sure.
Yeah, so I never wrote like I grew up on like X-Men type of, like stuff. I love the X-Men. And like that was but I never wrote superhero stuff. Like it was always Gang of Misfits stuff. And that's the, so whether it's Goonies or Stand By Me or
Right. And that's all in that same vein.
Right. Yeah. So that's why, in Stranger Things, there's so many references to all these old Gang of Misfits, type of movies and TV shows. So
I mean, it's basically a homage to all of that stuff. Stranger Things is by no means original. It took so much. I mean, you had hints of E.T., you had hints of Goonies, you had hints of all those 80s movies that we grew up watching and loved. It was just a little bit of everything.
So the plot is it is loosely based on my childhood with like a lot of like supernatural stuff like put in there. But for example, it takes place in this town that there's a whole nother development of the town that's been built behind it, and it's uninhabited, and that's what I grew up in. Like they built a bunch of homes, up in the hills behind our house.
Started a subdivision. I got you.
But then there was some red tape, and they weren't able to sell them, and they were sitting vacant for a super, super long time. A bunch of kids are just like, we're just gonna fucking run.
It's
wild,
a fucking field day then.
And so I wanted to keep that in there, So and yeah, there is the thing where they're flinging pudding at like the signs there, and we did that. I remember, we pushed shopping carts through like down big hills in it and stuff like that. We were just like, oh, we gotta go to the grocery stores, throw a bunch of shopping carts in the back of some person's van, and then take them up big hills and just go down, So I wanted to stay consistent in that. So, it was definitely wanted to keep those places very, and we'll have some things that also harken to my childhood, of the fact that the town is called, in this one, it's called Guerrero Heights. And that's the main character's last name is Guerrero. I lived in a place where everything had the last name Bernal.
Oh, wow.
But we were the fucking poorest people in the neighborhood. I mean, I drove a $900 van in high school, like, in a place where, there was quite a bit of wealth in that area, So everyone just assume, oh, like Bernal, your name's on it. You must come from. It's like, no, I'm fucking like I wish.
Black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get to play with that a little bit, in future issues and stuff the same way, because these are not kids that come from like a place of privilege.
Right. And you picked that up you picked that up fairly quick in the book too, I mean, they're extremely relatable because and I can relate to what you're saying too, Mark, because it was pretty much the same way for me in the little town I grew up in. I mean, the Cooley name was everywhere, but I wasn't one of those Coolies, People just automatically say, "Oh, Jerry Cooley." They figured out pretty quick I wasn't one of those Coolies.
Yeah, that's interesting how that happens. Yeah.
It's crazy. So through the creative process, what okay, let me back up a minute. Let's see how I want to word this. Let's see how I want to go with this. Okay, so through the creative process, did you see any strengths that you kind of capitalized on going forward in Jade, and vice versa, Jade, you with Mark, that kind of helped push the book forward in development and stuff like that? If that makes any sense. I hope it does. I did the best I could with that question.
Yeah, Jade's style is very unique. So not a lot of people are drawing in the indie scene that looks like, and he's got it's both gritty, but it's got a Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it.
Exactly.
So you can get to play with so it's like, oh man, so we can do something that's accessible, but then also put some scary stuff in it and be able to pull that off.
That twist in there, yeah.
And so that's cool. And then kind of when we were putting some of the little plot devices in there, these kids have a bunch of wacky inventions and stuff, and one of them, is something called the Ouija the Ouija phone.
Ouija phone, yeah.
And Jade latched right on that, and he had mock-ups of what this Ouija phone's going to be.
Yeah.
And I did not tell him what the buttons and the dials on this, Ouija phone was going to be. And I was like, yeah, he gets. I was like, he gets it. I don't need, and
yeah.
So
he'll be all right. He's got it. He's got the Ouija phone.
Because it just felt like as we were talking to it, it was the same as, Chris and Kevin and Sean, these main characters, as they were coming up with what a Ouija phone would look like and all the things that they're doing. The way they were talking about it is the same way that me and Jade were talking about it. We were just part of that kids group,
Right.
Because I think it just cut from the same cloth in that way. And I think that's what's going to carry, not only just carry this issue, but it will carry the series, because it's almost like we're just two other kids in that crew.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this, since you brought it up, how many issues are we talking for this? I mean, is this going to be an ongoing, or is it you've got a ending plan? How many issues?
So we have, there's a lot of universe. So Dead and Still Dying,
right,
alludes to a specific plot line, and I think we're probably going to land at 4 or 5 issues, or maybe a 4 plus maybe 4 is a thick one or a thick boy or something like that.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely going to be left in some sort of cliffhanger where there's characters that are introduced within this story arc that will be either in a part 2 or a slightly different name, of the secondary series.
Okay. That fucking rocks, man. I can't wait. I'm telling you, after this first one, hey, I'm in the bag, guys. But hey, let's get these 4 issues done, fellas. I'm ready to read this thing and get on to part 2 or volume 2. Yeah, boy, it'd be awesome if it was that easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they could just happen.
Yeah, just snap your fingers.
Yep. Yeah, because I'm already. This is the map of the different story arcs and how they connect to this. So I was confusing myself the other day, and I was talking to Jade, and I was like, "Yeah, well, we're gonna have characters that come from here, and we're gonna have characters that
Yeah,
come from
that
here."
drawing confused me too, Mark. I
Yeah.
can see how that could happen. Yeah, no wonder, man. I mean,
Yeah.
looks like a fucked up jigsaw puzzle. I was confused, man.
Yeah. So I have to do a lot more brainstorming to make sure that, because I don't want, what my biggest fear is working on the fourth issue and feeling like I have to cram too much into it, right? And
I got you.
You know, and
so it could go. So you're saying it could go 5? I'm like you. I wouldn't try and cram everything in one issue. I mean, like with End of Days, yeah, some issues will be longer than others, and they have been. But I just don't want to overwhelm the reader too. I know where I want to go, but if I also know, okay, here's a good cutoff point. I just need to stop right here, and then all the rest of the stuff will be in the next issue, and we'll just move forward. You know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, we'll see where number 2 ends, because I would turn that script into Jade, and he's going to be like, "We are nowhere near where we're supposed to be halfway through the story arc."
Wow.
Nah, it'll be good. And that's the nice part too about LKC, of just like, because I have Jade as well, you know, like they can help from a writing standpoint. And then like I got to talk to Brandon Blocksdorf about it, you know, just like, hey, you know, this, you know, like, you know, I have this much universe, like how much of it should I try and sell, like this, you know,
right,
in this particular issue, and how much of it is overkill. Me and him definitely don't mince words about each other's writing, you know, behind closed doors.
Yeah, I tell you, man, it's just weird how it happens, though. I mean, we've all, you know, for the most part, read comics our whole lives, you know. Mm-hmm. So I mean, we're already trained into what we like and what most people like. So I mean, it's crazy. Once we actually get to putting a book together, how much thought we actually put into it, because it ought to be like second nature. I mean, we grew up on these things. We know what we like to read, you know, but we kill ourselves trying to, well, I don't know if I should put this in, I don't know if I should do that. And you know, those things, they just pop, you know. It's crazy. Like I'll be working on a page, and it's just not, you know, it's not jiving. It's just not, nothing's going right. So I'll wipe that page and I'll start over. And I was like, well, I remember, you know, such and such happened in this issue of whatever. And I kind of like how they did that. Well, why don't I do a splash here? You know, and you know, it's crazy. It's weird, you know, the things that you go back to, you know.
Yeah, it's weird. Everyone's got a process too. I remember talking to Ray Garza from Tank McGregor, and as he was telling me through his process, he was like, "Oh, I just make a bunch of scenes, and then I put those scenes up." Like, and he's in the illustration phase. He's like, I just make a bunch of scenes, and then I find the through line of all those scenes, and then plug in the gaps. And I was like, "What? Like, that makes no sense."
No. But it works for him. You know?
His third act payoffs are like, you're like, this must have been a master plan. You must have had this whole thing mapped. Because how is this third act so good? You know?
Yeah.
He's all.
One of those, like Bob Ross used to say, a happy accident, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've never heard of anybody doing anything like that. That is wild, man. I would lose my shit. You know, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way I could do it like that. Let's see. J. Cool says, as a beginner comic reader, I have no idea what I like to read, but the poor kid who sees his name everywhere is extremely relatable to me. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely check out this book, man. It's fucking awesome. And it will let me take that time right now. Everybody watching and the ones that'll be watching in the future, right down here in that little thing we call the description, I've got all the details that you need to know. These guys already have the pre-launch page up on Kickstarter. Got the link in there for you, made it easy. All you got to do is click. You go on there, sign up, guys. I mean, Kickstarter's got an algorithm just like everything else. You know, numbers matter. So the more numbers these guys get, the more attention they get on Kickstarter when this thing actually goes live. Because Kickstarter will bury your shit in a deep, dark hole if you don't have the numbers. So let's help these guys get, I get confused. Let's help these guys get the numbers they need where this book can be seen just as soon as it hits. So go down there, hit the link, sign up. And what it'll do doesn't cost you a thing, doesn't cost you anything. What it'll do, as soon as the book comes up, when they live launch, it'll send you a notification and you can go in there and look at everything they put together and read how the story is and then determine if you want to go ahead and back it. And I mean, these guys, they'll have different tiers. If you like stuff digitally, you can get it digital. Or if you like the floppies, if you're an old school guy like me, they'll have the floppies. They'll have all kind of other goodies too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's nice. We got to look at when we were putting the tiers together. Like most, like me and Jade have a lot of books between us. We were like, oh crud, okay, there's a lot of books. So, I have with me, like obviously, Jade did both the It's a Horror Show, the critique, and It's a Horror Show, the date, and then we were both in the punk anthology together, which was a blast. His story is amazing. And then he's also in Bootleg. He's got half of Bootleg is in there, along with a story by Max Flowers. And then we have the Extended Universe tier or something like that. So it has all the lesser known comics.
Oh wow, we're going,
Either Them or Us issue.
Got all the goodies.
So then you'll be like, oh, okay, now I can kind of get a sense of what some of these characters were doing before they were in this issue,
right?
And what they may be doing down the road, because it's lesser known comics number 7. You get to see like a snippet into what happens like 5-10 years down the road, So you're like, oh, okay, that's that's weird, okay, but it provides a little bit more context as to or some foreshadowing.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
I was just going to say on the topic of tiers, real quick. One other tier that we're really excited about is so we were when we were finishing up the book, we were contacted by this band called the Antibodies, and they reached out to us and they asked if they could make a theme song for the comic. And so we're like, well, hell yeah, go for it. And so they came up with this awesome punk rock theme song for us. And we loved it even so much in that kind of partnership that if you look in the book, there's a moment where the main character is wearing an Antibodies t-shirt. And I put that in there to nod to the band. So we have this theme song, and one of the tiers that backers can get, and it's going to be a limited amount. We're pressing a limited amount of 7-inch records, so you can get so you can get a record and the comic, so you can listen along to the theme song while you read the book.
Fucking
and I
sweet,
think that's going to be so cool. I'm so excited that whole thing came together, and we partnered with this band. We partnered with this really cool small press record that do lathe cutting records instead of like making the plate. They do lathe cutting called Funky Frankenstein. And Ethan over there has been fantastic to work with to get all this stuff set up. And then the Antibodies you can hire them. Anybody can hire them to create a theme song, and they do good stuff. You can see all their stuff on Bandcamp. Really cool band, and yeah, it's awesome that we get to.
I'm gonna have to
that
check
little
them out
partnership.
because I'm definitely looking for something for the trailer I'm putting together for End of Days. I'm gonna have
There
to
you
get
go,
with
man.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fucking
do it.
awesome, man. I mean,
Yeah,
really, that's some
name
fucking
drop.
cool shit.
Name drop away and see if that gets you any kind of good deals.
All right, I'll do that. Say, hey, man, Mark and Jay told me about your shit, man. I really want a soundtrack, man. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to figure out. Yeah, we have to figure out how to embed that song into the Kickstarter page now, and I just got to remember like so that people can like actually listen to it ahead of time. There's a bunch of stuff that like comes with like when anytime you like add a thing. So we were like, oh cool, we got the records made. Then we had to realize that like, oh, we have to make the sleeves, and we're like, oh, that's more complicated. But luckily, we're getting them screen printed by the guys so the guys at Rap Brain Zine, who do like the trash cans, which are
Max and the guy,
yeah. So they're actually going to screen print the vinyl covers. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That is awesome, man.
Those guys are like the punk rock MacGyvers of like, you need something made, like
I've got to get Max on the show, man. I want to talk to this kid so fucking bad. I'm gonna have to hit him up for sure. I have, and I've kind of got a little bit of radio silence. I'm gonna have to hit him up again and say, "Hey, motherfucker, come on the show." I mean,
there you go.
Just not giving my option, Just say, "Hey, you're coming on." Yeah, it's happening. But yeah, let's see. I always jot down a bunch of questions, which I hardly ever use, but let me get, okay. I don't even have to, I started to open it, but I'm not going to open it. In that vein, I'm totally unscripted, guys. Always. Okay. In that vein, and I'm going to go with you, Mark, first. If you had two songs that would kind of sum up, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm going with two. I'm going to make this hard. Two songs that would kind of be in the soundtrack of your life. Jay, you got two? I'm giving you the question too. Y'all think on it a minute.
Oh yeah.
So here. So once again, this thing is this book is like semi-autobiographical. The friendships and those dynamics are very, very much like based in reality, based in reality and stuff like that. So every time I write, I make a soundtrack for what I'm writing, because when you step away from the writing process, it's hard to get back into the space. So if you make a soundtrack for the script you're working on, then you just put that soundtrack back in the headspace really easily. At least it works. It works well for me that way.
Gotcha.
So the first song on that soundtrack is a Blink-182 song, and called Anthem Part 2. Yeah. And the key line is, like, if we're fucked up, you're to blame. And that's our generation talking to the previous.
Right.
And so that would certainly be on the short list there.
Okay.
And then,
hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else was on that playlist, but I remember I listened to that song.
Well, let me kill a little time while you guys are thinking. One more thing, guys, and I should have brought it up a while ago, but it just hit me when D made his comment. D said he's in. He made sure to sign up. Let's do this. So appreciate that, D. One more thing, guys. And this is crucial. Word of mouth is everything for us. So please don't just sit on this like this is your own personal little secret. Oh, I'm going to get it. Nobody else. Please don't do that. Share this thing. Comment. I mean, get the word out. throw in your stories, throw on other social media, help spread the word, because we don't have the big ad campaigns. Companies are throwing our trailers on YouTube and stuff like that. We throw our own trailers on YouTube, but we don't get the views that say Marvel and DC do. So you got anything you guys can do, it just means the world to us, because without you, we don't exist. You guys are everything to us, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. So any help, it means the world. So, all right, Jade, I'm putting you on the spot, dude. You got to give me one. Mark's already got one.
Okay, I'll throw one in. It's a bit sappy, and it has nothing to do with Dead and Still Dying.
Dude, it's okay. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the book. I'm asking you.
The song would be Neil Young's "Old Man."
Hell yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. My dad was
there is no hate here for Neil Young, man.
My dad was a pretty influential figure in my life, and he passed away a couple of years ago, before I got back into comics and whatnot, and it's always kind of been a regret. And so I don't know, when you lose a parent, it's just like you question a little bit of your identity. It's like,
yeah,
I was this person who had this person in their life, and then they're gone, and you have there's a lot of like reconciliation with that, and trying to figure out who you are, and I think that Neil Young song was one of his favorites. It was one of my favorites growing up and whatnot, and so it's just become this song that I'm just like, yeah, I think it just lives in there, and there's so many good refrains in it that take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. And as much as I tried to steer away from being who my dad was, I'm like, fuck, I'm a little mini clone in it.
I got one you need to check out. Do you know who Steven Wilson Jr. is?
I don't think so.
Go on YouTube, Steven Wilson Jr., and look up Father Son. It's the new song he just released recently, and oh my God, man, that fucking thing wrecked me, dude. He's got a couple of other good bangers on there. 1994 is really good. I like the acoustic version better, the unplugged. But both of them are really good, and American Gothic is a damn good one. But yeah, check him out, man. Steven Wilson Jr., Father Son. That fucked me up, man. But it's a damn good song. All right, Mark.
Yeah, well.
You got the next one?
I have two.
He's like,
okay. Oh man, yeah. So, shit. I'm not. I'm not really sure with that second, because a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff that I'm writing, it's all very because it's part of. Like the legacy, I guess, that you try and leave right with your kids. I got two little girls and stuff like that. Right. So making, so I'm trying to think of the parts of the songs that inspired me. I know I listened to a band called Pup relentlessly. So they're a newer punk band, PUP. And they have a song called Kids that's like, I feel like is just it totally speaks to me, right. And it's actually like when Spotify tells you like how much you listen, they're like, oh, you're in the 1% of listeners of this band.
Wow.
Like, shit, I should get like free tickets for that.
You damn right, man.
But yeah. Yeah, so that's probably my go-to right now, which is actually, it's relatively newer band. I've probably only listened to them the last 5 years or so.
I'll definitely have to check them out. Me and my son were talking about this on the way down to New Orleans, and I haven't listened to them in years, but I've just been getting a hankering for Good Charlotte lately. I'm gonna have to go back down that road, man, because I remember I had completely forgot about Good Charlotte. Now I don't know how the fuck I did that because I loved them so much when they first hit the scene. So I'm definitely gonna have to do a Good Charlotte revival listen. You guys ever do that? You
Oh
just
yeah,
completely forget about a band that played a big part in a section of your life.
Oh yeah, yeah.
totally.
I mean,
All the time.
it's like complete brain fart. It's like they were gone, and
Mhm.
I remember listening. There were certain things that happened in my life, and that music got me through it, like when my early teens, well, into my mid teens, Pearl Jam kind of hit the scene, and I was just kind of in that place, that anger and just that angst, and it just. And as they evolved, I kind of evolved with them. It's weird how that happens. You come through all that stuff as a teenager, and I guess maybe they got off the drugs and got happier, or maybe they got on more drugs and got more happy. I mean, I don't know what happened to get them more happy, but they kind of went into more like I don't know if you call it a folk direction, but kind of, sort of, which I still listen to Pearl Jam, It was weird watching them come through that and evolve, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are bands that I definitely remember listening to them so much during certain times, and then maybe I'm not totally like don't remember them or something like that, but I definitely go through phases where I just like I won't listen to them, almost at all, and then I'll just like, oh yeah, and then it's that one song or that like that lick that you hear that you're like, oh right, that, and then it just sends me down that rabbit hole. The one that
Right,
was the most recent was and I mean the only like music difference really between Mark and me is it's like I love punk and all whatnot as well. I kind of came to punk a little bit later. I
yeah,
started just being this total like most of my stuff was that very indie rock stuff of the
right,
early aughts, late 90s. And so Arcade Fire was this band that when I was in high school I listened to like
hmm,
so
yeah,
much, and then it just blipped for a very long time until maybe like the Suburbs came out, and that was when I was in college. And then other than that, I just kind of they dropped off my radar a little bit. And very recently, like days ago, just one of the songs, I just like was I heard it in my mind's eye kind of a thing, and I was
right.
like,
I do that all
oh
the
yeah.
time. Yeah,
And now I've just been like listening to their first two records, their first EP, and The Funeral ad nauseum, just like on repeat. Because I'm like,
wow.
yeah, I just can't get enough of it right now. Yeah. So I mean, I totally go through that as well.
There's a lot of Arcade Fire on some of the script playlists. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
That would make sense. I could kind of see that.
I can well for different story arcs, but yeah, there's yeah, Arcade Fire is fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So,
I thought of my. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead. It'll come back to me.
I thought of my second song, Jerry. I got it.
Got it.
Okay, so the second song to Find My Life is a song by Modest Mouse, and it's called "Talking Shit About a Pretty Sunset." Is the name of the song, and I feel like it's that's pretty much what it's about. And I feel like sometimes I'm too. I think it's a nice one because I reflect on it. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I talk shit about a pretty sunset, and what is there to talk shit about a pretty sunset? There's
Yeah,
no
exactly.
reason to, like I
It's one of the most
spit in the
beautiful
face of,
things in the world. Yeah.
spit in the face of things that I don't need to be critical of. And I
Right.
think it's that song's a good reminder, but it's also like a fairly up tempo rock song. It's got some great guitar parts, and yeah, I don't know. It's just something about the tone of it that made me think that one. Yeah, I think that'd be the other
That's a good one. Man, that's two good ones. And Mark, that was a good one too. Here we go. I messed it up again. I'll get these finger points down. See that one? Yeah, I got it. Okay, we're good. Show's about over, but hey, yeah, there and there.
One of the things that I think is worth mentioning is, me and Jade both came from playing music as well, and I do think that working on Dead and Still Dying feels a lot more like starting a band than going in.
Yes. Totally. Yeah.
Wow.
It's because we both have our own titles. We both have our own plans for our titles and stuff like that. And sorry if I'm sharing too much, Jade, but the thing is,
well, y'all did room together for a few days, so y'all got really close.
Yeah, me and him did not really come up with any plan on this thing. Like, we were just like, we're just now all of a sudden making comics. Then we were like tabling together, and then even to the point where we haven't really like counted up the inventory of like the books that we ordered, or like figured out, like, we haven't even like done a money exchange or figured out what we made off like Baltimore. Like, we just because we're just like, well, we got to do the next thing. We got to do the next thing.
Yeah.
And like,
so what this is a budding bromance. That's what I'm hearing. Y'all are gonna start wearing matching shirts and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna get Jay tattooed on your arm, and he's gonna get Mark tattooed on his, and it's gonna be like half a heart.
We're just gonna we're just gonna be like laying there late at night, like giggling and texting, and like our wives gonna be like, "Who the fuck are you talking to right
now?" It's not Jake from State Farm. Yeah, hell yeah. That's awesome, guys. That's
Mark,
fucking
does that
awesome.
Does that mean we're a super group then?
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say you guys are a super group for damn sure. So let me ask you this: Are we going the full 30 days, or are we going less on the Kickstarter, or more, or kind of what's the plan on that?
We're doing 30 days just because
gotcha.
we didn't. Yeah, we were just like, fuck it, we'll just run 30 days.
I gotcha. Well, dude, Mark, I'm glad you're feeling better, bro, and I hope you get to feeling even. Main thing, just stay hydrated with that mess, man. I told you my little story. I had that mess on the way to work this last time, and I was literally pulling over on the highway on the way to Houma, Louisiana. I'm not even going to talk about it on the show and get into details, but it was bad.
Yeah. Been there, brother. Yeah.
No good. Yeah. No good. Yeah.
Miserable. And then I got sick again after I got to work with the regular flu. And then I got sick when we went to Disney World. And I feel like my family has been cursed with the plague. Because my wife got sick like the day after Christmas, which was the day I got home. She was sick kind of into the trip, and then I got sick the night we got down there, and I was like, "You did this to me," exactly. I was that asshole. Yeah, you did this to me. But anyway, we got over it. Then the grandbaby got it. She had it the last 2 days, and that was just that about ripped my heart out, man. But we're all better now, and everybody's, I wouldn't say 100%, but we'll say 99.5. We'll go with that. So,
yeah. Sometimes I forget where I am. Sometimes when the kids will have the cough,
yeah,
it'll sound like the smoker's cough. And for me, sometimes it's just a thing that I thought was funny to yell, like, lay off the Marlboros, but I'll forget I'm in the grocery store and
yeah. Look up, oh, she's got the black lung. Yeah. She only had a half pack today. I'm trying to get her to quit. Yeah. Well, guys, I know you got stuff to do. You got to get back to your families. Thank you again for being on. You guys are awesome. I can't wait to see this book. And of course, I'm going to do anything I can to help push it. And best of luck, man. I know you guys, like I said, it's a fucking banger. Period. I've already seen it. Just take that. Just go sign up. Get the book. You can't go wrong with this book. You're gonna fucking love it. I'm telling you now. Just go ahead and sign up, and be sure and share it. Share it on all your social media. Get the word out there. All right, that's the show. Oh well, hold up. One more. I almost forgot. Jade, you got anything to plug other than the Kickstarter?
I mean, the Kickstarter is the main one. The other thing is, if you're in the Montana area, I'm from Bozeman, Montana. I actually have an art show that's opening of all of my pages from It's a Horror Show, all the
that's
pages
sweet,
from
man.
Dead and Still Dying, and that opens at the Montana State University main gallery there in the School of Art. It opens on January 18th is the opening reception in the evening. So if you're in the Montana area, in my neck of the woods, come out, say hi. And then while you're there, I can pressure you to back the Kickstarter.
There you go. What about your socials, man? Tell them your socials too.
Yeah, main one is I pretty much am just on the Instagrams these days. So Instagram is just at Jade Louder. Pretty easy, and that's the best place to find all the good stuff. And beyond that, lesserknowncomics.com. That's the one.
Gotcha. And I know you've got a shitload to throw out there, so hit us with it, man.
Okay, well, yeah. How much time you got, buddy? Now,
It's not a scheduled show, man. Hit the cliff notes.
We just started the Kickstarter season, right? Lesser Known Comics. So on Monday we launched something called the Shadow Anthology. I got a short story in there, put out by Apollo City Comics. Great folks. Just follow us on Instagram or Twitter. You'll see posts about that. Then yesterday, Tuesday, Night of the Chihuahuas, number 1 through 5 was launched. What is it? Nature made them small. Man made them deadly, I think is the title. Freaking awesome stuff.
That's a damn hook, buddy. That's a line, but
yeah. So ours launches on Tuesday the 16th. Then a week later, Max, he's got a Kickstarter featuring all the trash cans, and the bootleg is actually on that Kickstarter, and then he's got his sneak preview of Bubbles. That's this like cool mini zine.
oh wow!
So this is like the dirt cheapest Kickstarter too. You can find stuff. You can get physical things shipped to you for like $2 or $3.
Holy shit, man!
Then after that, we have the coup de grace of the month, and that is one of the ones we've all been waiting for a pretty long time. Is Jade Red's Incision. So if you like 90s nostalgia, like Marvel-esque, rip them up by the throat type of action stuff, Incision is an awesome one. So busy month for us. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or go lesserknowncomics.com. But I always say Instagram is probably the best way to like find your way to things, because you're
right. That's where most of us live. Yeah, definitely. I've tried the other ones. I even did Threads for a little while, and I wound up just closing that out. I done Twitter back in the day for like maybe 3 or 4 months. I've never really fooled with Facebook. I mean,
I was telling you the other day with you never know, right? Because Ray Burneye, he was like getting ready to
Snapchat of all things. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
What are you doing? That funded in like an hour, and I was like,
that's insane, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do my closing. Okay, guys. You know where I'm at. I'm on Instagram, so go there and follow me. Hey, shout out the show, share the show. We're trying to grow this thing out, and I appreciate all the new subs. You guys are awesome. Please leave a comment. do a like, give us a thumbs up. All these little things help and help us get seen on YouTube. So, just anything you can do, guys. It takes literally like 1 second to do that. So I'd appreciate one of these. Or if you want me to fuck off, you can give me one of these. But I'd prefer one of these. But anyway, it was an awesome show, guys. Thanks so much for being on. Hope all you guys that are watching and watching in the future, hope you have a blessed night. Thanks for being with us and putting up with my ass. Most of all, that's the biggest challenge. So anyway, you guys have a great one, and that's the show. We're gonna wrap it up right there. Until next time, you guys be safe. Take care.
See you.